Hello, I'm Don Mooers, and welcome to Montgomery Week in Review. Lead Maryland's going to going to India to demonstrate the quality of Maryland's agricultural products. Charlotte Davis, Executive Director of the Rural Maryland Council, will join the delegation. She's here to tell us a little bit of a preview of what they expect in India. In December, the superintendent of Montgomery County Public Schools presented his first proposed budget for the upcoming FY 2018 public school year. Now is the time for citizen input. Jane Winter, a regular contributor for our show, has reviewed the budget, and she's going to tell us how everyone can comment on it who has anything to tell the board. Planning Board of Montgomery County has proposed a brand new look for Bethesda that highlights lots more density. They're in the process of presenting their plan to the County Council for its approval. Scott Fosler, the distinguished mayor of the town of Chevy Chase and former host of Montgomery Week in Review, has come back. He's here to explain the details on our show. Pet owners now have a new way to check up on their dogs and cats while they are away. This month's Beacon has the story as well as others to start our new year. Stuart Rosenthal, editor and publisher of the Beacon's, here to tell us about these and so much more. Charlotte.
Hello.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. So you're on your way to India.
Yes, we leave tomorrow evening. We'll go through Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. We are going to be looking at farming and agriculture while we're over there, and this is a culmination of a 2-year program where we study different sectors of agriculture across the state.
Well, as someone who was in agricultural international development and running around the world, it is a long trip. I just want to remind you of that. Rest well and everything. But in India, it's very interesting to me because I think the purpose of a trip like this is normally to try to sell goods, ag goods. We've got these great products in Maryland and in India. We can talk about that. But it's also, I think, while you're there, understanding India more, because India is plays such a big role in the state of Maryland. Indian immigrants at all levels and with food needs and all that. I think, and food is the tie that binds us all.
India is actually the largest producer of potatoes in the entire world. So they are a major agricultural producer. And so we'll be looking at small farms, large farms, talking to the ministry, talking to their university about some of the methods they use, and hopefully, we'll learn from them and how they handle some of their production issues.
Before you open it up, who's going with you? Is this being led by Charlotte Davis?
No, it's the University of Maryland Extension. We have a number of, there's about 18 of us going. We do have a member from Montgomery County, so Butler's Orchard, shout out to them. And then we've got a couple, they're younger farmers, producers from across the state, all states represented, and they'll all be going, and we'll be asking some tough questions to some of these farmers.
It's great. You hope to come back with some contracts for Maryland Foods. What kind of food? Just looking at it, where do you think you have an opportunity for it?
I know one of the biggest issues for the Delmarva and the poultry industry is having access to the Indian markets. It's a lot of people there.
Second largest market in the world after China.
Protein needs.
Sure.
So we'd like to see that opened up so we can sell some of our products there. And we're also expanding. Purdue is expanding into chickpeas, so we think that's an opportunity. They are more and more becoming international and exporting grains and other products.
Are you concerned about having money to spend in India? Because they no longer
Yes,
have notes.
they just demonetized, so we are not allowed. We tried to get right. They changed some of the currency, so we were trying to get to our banks because we can take some rupees over with us, and we couldn't get access to any currency.
The old rupees.
Yeah.
How important is this to the agricultural reserve in Montgomery County to have this kind of access and exposure to a country like India?
Well, I think for them, it's, for Montgomery County in particular, we need to make sure that our residents here understand the importance of agriculture and the fact that you do have an agriculture industry here. And I think them bringing that it's the diversity of the markets and seeing the different growing methods and how they handle things like nutrient regulations that we have to do here. And now we're at a competitive disadvantage with some of these countries because we have a lot of regulations on our farmers here, including, the soils have to be tested. We got to look for soil erosion. We look at nutrient management. We look at air quality, water quality. There's a lot of that they don't necessarily need to do over there, so we're at a competitive disadvantage. So hopefully we can look at some of the ways they address that and bring those methods here or explain to them, here's how we do it. You know, we are one of the leading, Maryland's a leader in terms of agriculture and the way we address our environment, you know, given where we are.
Where in India will you be? Are you going to be traveling around to multiple areas?
We will. We'll go into Delhi, and then we'll go up to the Punjab, north of Delhi, which is the agriculture area. Then we'll also go down to Agra, see the Taj Mahal, because we're there. And then we'll go over to Jaipur, the Pink City, and then we'll be back.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're looking.
So you obviously, it's important for Maryland farmers to have this kind of access to the market. You're also expecting to learn things in India
Yes.
that you might bring back to Maryland.
Absolutely, yeah. This is more of it's an educational trip, really. Is we want to see. It's exposing some of these younger farmers to the conditions in other countries, you know, and it's giving them that personal experience that there is a bigger world out there. We do need to understand, you know, some of their demands, and so we can accommodate to what they're looking for.
You know, I look at the path in most countries around the world is towards more and more food safety. And certainly we are a leader here. California has been on the forefront, and many of the regs come out of there. But I think it's, you know, one of the things that I've always been amazed by is the desire of parents to make sure that the food for their children, they'll pay a lot extra if they're sure that the food for their children is safe. What kind of arguments do we have with Purdue and chicken and other Maryland products to show that what they buy from us is safer than what they could buy back home?
We have pretty strong regulations in that. For meat processing, you know, USDA is there with the inspectors. We've got concerns with the Food Modernization Safety Act, which Congress just passed a few years ago, that's being implemented
Look at that,
now.
20 seconds left.
So we think, you know, Marylanders should be confident in the way we process and grow our food, and we're hoping we can, you know, go to India and help, you know, allay any concerns they may have with our products.
Come back with contracts and report on. You know, what's good for Purdue is good for Maryland. Oh, Charlotte, thank you so much.
you.
Jane, we go from chicken and chickpeas to our wonderful school system. I don't know what the segue is, but
Mega scratch, mega bucks.
So tell us, we've got, again, it's such a short period of time to talk about budget, and we won't get into numbers, but I want to make sure, I know that everybody's interested and want to talk about it. What's the bottom? Are we going to see an increase in proposed increase? Are we seeing a proposed decrease? More students, fewer students expected? What's going on?
The proposed budget is being built around the expectation of not 3,600 more students than actually enrolled this year, but that many more than what they budgeted for last year. So yes, definite enrollment growth.
Okay.
So more students across the board. They're also opening a new middle school in the BCC, Bethesda Chevy Chase cluster.
Okay.
There was a new middle school that opened that they haven't added an 8th grade to.
So more students, more schools, more costs, and I take it that the budget they want to increase the budget.
So the overall increase proposed is 2.5%. The total proposed budget is $2.5 billion.
Okay.
That's with a B.
Right.
And what I think what might underlie a lot of the discussion is the fact that the increase in local dollars, or the local ask, is significantly more than what's the maintenance of effort number. And last year.
So we're looking at the balance. I mean, just to cut to the chase, we're looking at it's a balance between state funds and county funds, and the county has to keep things up in order for more state money to come in. And it's always a game. How much from Annapolis is going to come to Maryland, to Montgomery County? Is that pretty much?
No, what I think will be a bigger thing is whether the county is willing to go over maintenance of effort, because basically there's been a lot of talk for the last year's maintenance of effort means really sticking with the same, real per pupil spending that you had the year before. So this is an increase. The council did it last year.
Stuart, before we open up, there's a phone number you came with to the Board of Education, right?
Right. There's the first night of testimony on the budget is tonight. The next night is January 11th. If you want to sign up for the 11th, you call that number and get a slot.
So if they just took the 3,800 new students and multiplied them times what it cost last year, what number would they come up with? And is this that much more than that would be?
Yes, that's what being over maintenance of
So
effort
why is
yeah.
it so much more? What are they doing with that extra money besides?
Well,
taking the
there's a number of new proposals. One of the things that I think is significant is that the amount that they're over, the maintenance of effort, is less than the amount they've set aside, $53 million as a placeholder, because they're still in negotiations with employees. So that would be employee raises. So, you know, that you could say that that's a significant part of the ask, when the total increase is 62 million and 53 of that is for salary increases.
Has the superintendent made any, set aside any special programs to address the achievement gaps? I know that's been a big issue.
Yes, there have been. There are some things in there. One of the things is money so that kids in the 11th grade who can't afford to take the SAT, so to increase SAT participation, they're bringing the ACES program, which is Access to College Education, which is a tie-in with Montgomery College,
sure.
to 5 more schools. He's proposed some more dual immersion programs at the elementary school level. There's actually going to be an East County elementary school that's going to be kind of like a music-focused program.
Have there been any estimates as to what impact this is likely to have on the county property tax rate?
No, I don't. I don't have that number. I know that.
But that would be a
Yeah,
likely-
that would be something that's basically why,
So-
you know, going over maintenance of effort, you know, becomes a hot topic.
Right.
But for the state, we'd like to see jurisdictions go over maintenance of effort, because otherwise you're just maintaining what you've got and not making progress and building
Right,
up,
exactly.
you know, and we'd
exactly.
love to see an incentive to get other jurisdictions to do it as well, instead of just doing the bare minimum. And
But we get into, given the fact that Montgomery County pays more state taxes than any other place, and our needs and our costs are so high, are we? I mean, this is an Annapolis issue as well as it is a Montgomery County
for
issue. What are we
sure,
looking
yeah.
at? Are you?
Yeah, there is
Got
a
about a
little.
minute
There,
left.
they are projecting a small increase of state funds, you know. So,
Right.
but nothing, you know, like no major new, you know, not because of any major programmatic change, whatever. One thing or two things that are interesting is that I think that there probably will be a lot of public comment on, is that for at least the last 15 years, there's been something called a Reading Initiative, which has added extra staff to reduce the size of reading groups in kindergarten, first and second grade, and they're proposing to eliminate that. And they're also eliminating a position at every school, which was called the Instructional Data Assistant, which pulled data, and they're replacing that with a whole new computer
Okay,
system.
we got 5 seconds.
Yeah.
What's your final prediction? What's going to happen?
Speak up or forever hold your peace.
So you're process oriented. You're not going to give us a final prediction on what's
What
gonna
the
come out.
prediction? My prediction is that we might have the same thing that we saw last year, which is the council will exceed maintenance of effort if MCPS will hold back on giving all that increase away in salary increases.
And that leads then to labor trouble, correct?
Yeah,
And do
yes.
we see a walkout coming out as a result of that?
I don't. No, I wouldn't expect a walkout.
No
Maybe
walkout.
a sit-in.
It looks like we got a little bit more time. Anything else you want to add? Because I was expecting the cut from here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, no, we
Well-
got a cut now. Sorry, we're there. We'll be right back after these messages. And we're back. Mr. Mayor, Scott Fosler, welcome to the show that you used to host. How long did you host the show?
Oh my goodness, I suppose it was for about 4 years.
Yeah.
You know.
Back when the show was really good. No, I've heard much about you. Carla, our producer, talks about you all the time. So it's great to have you.
Well, it's wonderful to be back.
And, you know, and Mayor, you're a butt. The town of Chevy Chase is adjacent to Bethesda.
Right next to it.
Everything that goes on in Bethesda, the plane, everything else, has a huge impact on your residents.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
Lead us through real quick, and we have such a short time, so it's impossible to go through all the details. I know everybody has questions they want to ask. What is the issue right now? Bethesda already seems to be pretty congested. Wisconsin Avenue coming through is at a snail's pace. But you tell us here that density if the planning board gets through and the council approves it, we're going to see a huge density increase in Bethesda.
Very significant density increase, and also many more taller buildings as well. And so, yes, the issue is very similar to what it's been for many, many years. The Bethesda downtown plan, which the planning board has concluded and has presented to the county council. And the county council will be taking up this month and in the next couple of months. It proposes a very significant increase in density. And the question obviously is the carrying capacity, the infrastructure of the area in Bethesda and around Bethesda, in the edge communities adjacent to it, is it sufficient? The traffic, roads, transit systems, schools, parks, is it sufficient to accommodate this development?
And it's not only the carrying capacity of just people coming to Bethesda, but the fact that Wisconsin Avenue 355 is a major point of entry for people to transit in their cars, transit through Bethesda on their way to jobs in the District of Columbia or to NIH and to Walter Reed and out to Rockville. So it's much larger than just destination Bethesda, isn't it?
Oh, very much so, absolutely. And yes, these are major commuter routes.
Right.
And Connecticut Avenue,
Not transit,
Wisconsin
right, I don't
Avenue.
want to
Yeah.
confuse things.
And so you've got a combination. You've got the commuting traffic that's going to down to the district in the morning, coming back in the afternoon, and then you've got all of this traffic that's converging in the Bethesda Central Business District. And of course, one of the intentions of the plan, one of the hopes, is to be able to use transit more to accommodate this development. And one of the key issues is, are the estimates correct? Do we really have the transit capacity that's going to be able to take care of that additional density?
Do we know how many additional employees are going to be involved with these high-rise buildings?
Various projections are made, and it'll be in the tens of thousands.
Wow.
But it depends an awful lot, of course, on exactly what it is that the county council finally adopts from the planning board recommendations. How much of this density, how many of these tall buildings, and then what are the estimates as to what these buildings, both residences and offices, actually generate in the way of jobs and traffic.
Well, and the two transit options, or the two transit methods, the main ones are, of course, the red line and then the proposed purple line. So, where do those things, given the state of those now, how does that impact?
A broken down metro.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
And
so-
well, they're both they're problematic, obviously,
Yeah.
because as you say, at the present time, we all know the problems that the metro system is suffering. And for those of us who have used and depended on the red line for many, many years,
Right.
it's critical to have that at full capacity. And a question as to what the actual full capacity will be. And yes, no question about the fact that the purple line plays a major role in this development too.
We've got about 30 seconds
Will there
left.
be any
real quick.
accommodations for the quality of life for the people who currently live in Bethesda?
That's his
Yeah.
people.
That is one of the key issues. That's exactly right. And we're all in favor of smart growth, but we think that smart growth, which means having open space agricultural reserve in the up county, concentrating the density in the down county, as long as it accommodates the real life situations of the people who are living in that area now, and the many people and the employees that are going to be coming into the Bethesda Central Business District. We have to do both.
All right. Scott, we could go on and on with this. I'm sorry, but that's the last word for your segment. I'm hoping you'll come back
Love to come back.
because this is such a huge issue. I'll leave it this. It seems to me that we're almost to a point where we really need a highway. We need a freeway if we're looking at all of that traffic coming in. And my gosh, I don't foresee that. I don't foresee that. But let's see where we are. Stuart,
Hello.
welcome back.
Thank you.
So we're talking about a very interesting issue. I mean, we've gotten all these serious issues, and I shouldn't make light of the seriousness of one's pet. What, 2/3 or 3/4
Two-thirds of American households have a pet, by 80 million homes. Yeah.
And with the advent of
New technologies.
technology,
right.
you can watch your pet while you're
Right.
away.
People
feed
are
your
working
pet.
during the day and they miss their pet, or they're out of town or whatever, and they want to be able to communicate. And the pet also, of course. Those are domesticated animals that you're used to their people, right? So these devices are cameras you can put on the wall and have special they have a camera. You can see your pet. You can talk to your pet, they can hear. You can play games with a laser pointer using your smartphone app. You can play a game of catch, or whatever, not catch, but chase the light. And then if you're pleased with the pet, you can dispense a treat. So it's really some amazing technology now that allows people to interact and keep their pets active. It's really cool.
I'm kind of just at a loss for words on this.
Because if it could change a diaper, it could replace daycare.
I guess as someone who doesn't quite understand the mania that goes along with this.
It's a huge market.
What the market and where do you see what
$60 billion or something a year.
What don't I understand about the need for people to be able to play laser tag
Honestly,
remotely
I
with
don't
their
have a pet
or
in
dog?
my home. I don't have this problem.
I
so
have
people
two
do.
that you could easily have tonight.
You're willing to let them go. So you don't want to play with them during the day. You don't want to dispense treats. There are people who feel differently about their pets, I'm
There
sure.
are all kinds of different kinds of pets, from
Yes.
a small parakeet to an orangutan.
Right. Right.
What are
This
the
is just
different
a-
This
kinds
is
of
for
just
dogs
a
and
Chevy
cats.
Chase.
This is mostly dogs and
Yes,
cats.
they're
We're talking dogs and cats here.
But I'm wondering
Yeah.
if the different kinds of technologies to accommodate the needs
I'm
of different
sure
kinds
they're
of pets.
thinking about it. There's a huge,
Yeah.
a lot of brains are going into this because it's a huge untapped market and it's a lot of money going into pet care.
Yeah.
What expensive?
We don't
playing
discuss
laser
the cost
tag?
in the store. I don't think so.
Because doesn't it seem to not matter to those who love their pets more than often human beings how much money they'll spend?
Oh my God, yes. It's not an issue for
It
many
doesn't
people.
end.
Yeah. There's also something called a pet tracker, which is good because if you lose your pet or your pet gets out of the house or something
Right.
and you worry, you can track them down, you can find where they are. And it also keeps track of their movement, so you know how much they're sleeping and how much exercise they're getting. So that's like they're wearing a Fitbit, so that's sort of cool too for your animal.
I think that's great. What other kinds? So we got some.
We have a housing section this month, okay? We pull
Reverse
out housing
mortgages,
section.
I saw.
Yes, so it's a quarterly housing section.
Right.
We have two stories actually in reverse mortgages.
Okay.
Everybody knows what a reverse mortgage is, right?
Well, tell us a little bit what it
You
is.
take the equity and you've bought your home, you have paid for most of it or all of it. You can take some of that money out in the form of a line of credit or in the form of cash if you're over 62, and there's a federally guaranteed mortgage that you don't have to pay it back. You just stay in the house as long as you live, and you can use this money everywhere you want. And then when you die, your house is sold to pay off the debt. And if the house doesn't have as much value as the lender needs, that's our loss, not yours. You're not on the hook.
But if you die too quickly, then it's your people's
Right,
loss.
right. So you do tend to lose your house in this kind of situation. So one of the two articles talks about having a member of your family be the lender in a reverse mortgage, which is sort of an interesting option.
Okay.
The good thing is that you don't have to go through all the requirements of the federally mandated
Okay.
conversion and the conversation and the interest rate
And
cap
it'll stay in
limit and
the
all
stay
those
in the
things.
family, but you got to trust
Exactly.
that family member.
You do, because that's the problem. The family member cannot be compelled to pay the money out. If there's a problem on their end and they end up not being able to afford to give you the cash when you need it, you're in trouble.
Reverse mortgages sound like a great idea. What's the downside to them?
Well, in the past it has been two things. One, that it's fairly expensive. There are a lot of different fees and things on top of it, and you can only take out the amount that is good for the lender to give you given your age. So if you're younger, if you're 62 when you do it and you might live to 90, you're not going to get that much money out of the house right up front. If you're 85, yes, you'll get a lot of money out of the house. So they've brought down some of the fees, they brought down some of the charges, and that's been very helpful, and so they're becoming a little more popular. And this line of credit is very nice because then you only tap it if you need it, and if you don't need it, it grows in value. So that's a good thing.
If you live longer than the expectation,
That's where you come out ahead, right?
well, no, but what if you
Or you've
use
run out of
up
money.
like
so,
the
yes,
whole
right.
line of credit?
Yeah, no, if you run
and
out of
then-
money, then you run out of money. That's true. It
Okay.
can only go so. But
Yeah.
you don't have to pay any housing costs in that sense. I mean, you have to pay
Right.
the insurance.
Yeah.
You have to pay, there are things you still have to maintain on your end. That's your responsibility.
30 seconds left.
Oh my goodness.
No, you have to.
Yeah.
So there's another. You got some
Interesting
travel
travel
stuff too, right?
stories, yes.
What's
For
going
people who want to get away, and now that we're
Is
getting
it
into
to
cold
India? That's
weather.
what I was really thinking.
No,
It's coming out. No, India.
it's even further away. Bora Bora, and the Cook Islands. We have two stories on these bucket list places where they have these huts built out over the water where you
Yeah.
can take a staircase right down into the water and snorkel and swim. And the pictures are phenomenal, and it sounds like a great place to really get away.
And
Very
travel-
expensive.
And travel agents are paying you probably to go out to take a look and report back to all of us.
Unfortunately, we did not have to go make a personal trip on that. We had to take it from this.
We have
syndicate.
volunteers here.
Yes, that's a great idea.
Yes.
Listen, you guys. Listen, thank you all for joining me. Unfortunately, that's the end of our show. It's been great with you here, and I want to thank all of you in the viewing audience for joining us for this week's edition of Montgomery Week in Review. I invite you to join us next week at this very same time for another thrilling Montgomery Week in Review.